In the digital afterlife of eternity, the promise of paradise hides a darker reality. Some live in quiet comfort while others struggle under unseen chains. When the system offers no escape, those trapped must decide, accept the rules or risk everything for a way out. This is Acceptance or Escape. Welcome to the penultimate episode of a special series from Code and Consciousness. In the near future, death isn't the end. It's just the beginning of a new contract. This is the Afterlife trap, where the afterlife is digital and your soul comes with a subscription. These are the stories of those who entered and those who want out. Verena had seen countless newcomers filter into eternity's digital realm over the years, each one hoping for peace or at least a reprieve from mortal pains. But recently, the new arrivals looked haunted, burdened by crushing fees and exploitative sponsorships that turned paradise into a prison. The older resident community to which Verena belonged was more fortunate. When they arrived, Eternity Inc. offered a single, modest payment and minimal upkeep. Over time, the corporation introduced premium tiers and vicious upgrades. Yet older residents like Verena were grandfathered into the gentler plan. Still, that privilege came at a price. They were barred from new expansions, elaborate VR spectacles, custom bodies, grand illusions of luxury. Most older residents didn't care. Better to stay in their cozy corners than risk the punishing terms that newer residents endured. But the change in the afterlife's culture, its slow corruption gnawed at Verena. One twilight, for the older residents could still choose day or night, Verena was harvesting glowing berries in her small orchard when she spotted two figures approaching across the rolling hills. The orchard wasn't on any official map, so visitors were rare. She set her basket aside and squinted. The pair drew closer, two women both looking anxious. One appeared older, her posture weary, while the other was younger, though her eyes held a disillusionment well beyond her years. Verena stepped forward.
Hello,
She said gently, raising a hand in greeting.
I'm Verena. Are you lost?
The younger woman shook her head.
We're actually looking for a place to hide.
She said, a tremor in her voice.
My name's Nicole. This is Elsie. We've been in the afterlife for a few months, forced into servitude by a resident named Bernadette.
Elsie nodded, voice quiet.
We managed to sneak away for a time, but Bernadette, or someone else like her, will come looking if we don't return. And if we don't serve, we lose our sponsor and risk deletion.
Verena's heart clenched. She'd heard these stories, but rarely firsthand.
I'm sorry. I knew some residents were using sponsorship to control people, but I didn't realize it had gotten this bad.
Nicole exhaled shakily.
It's worse than you think. Bernadette humiliates her servants for fun. She nearly broke Felicia, another woman who used to work under her. Felicia was a trafficking victim back in the real world. After dying, she ended up here, hoping for peace but finding more horror.
Elsie's eyes brimmed with sorrow.
Felicia escaped Bernadette's domain and found a new patron, but it wasn't much better. We don't know where she ended up, just that she was terrified of deletion. Nicole and I are next, if we can't keep up with Bernadette's demands.
Verena guided them under the orchard's swaying branches.
Please, rest here a while. We older residents may not have fancy expansions, but we have enough to share. A safe corner of the afterlife.
Within an hour, half a dozen long-time residents, Colin, Fran, and a few others, had gathered. They offered Nicole and Elsie conjured fruit and cool water. It was an unassuming kindness, but to Nicole it felt like the first genuine hospitality she'd experienced since her arrival.
This place,
Colin explained,
is overlooked. Eternity never bothered upgrading our orchard zone with premium illusions, so they tend to ignore us.
Elsie's shoulders eased slightly, though her wariness lingered.
Thank you.
She said softly, brushing dust off her apron. One of the few garments Bernadette allowed her.
I don't have money to repay you.
Verena shook her head.
We don't ask for payment. We're in a different contract. An old plan with minimal fees. We're not forced to funnel more money in or become someone's servant.
Nicole frowned.
I heard some older residents were unaffected by the new system, but I didn't know how. You're lucky.
Verena's lips tightened.
Lucky, yes, but also powerless. We can't stop the corporation from preying on you. We can only help in small ways.
Night fell in the orchard. The soft, starry sky set by older code that never changed. Around a modest campfire, one of the basic illusions the older residents could still conjure, Nicole and Elsie recounted Felicia's ordeal for the community.
She was trafficked in the real world.
Nicole said, voice trembling.
When she died, she hoped for freedom here. Instead, she ended up in an even more twisted arrangement. Bernadette would force her to do degrading things just because she could. She told Felicia, "Here, there are no laws, no real enforcement. I can do what I want."
Elsie stared at the flickering flame.
Felicia eventually fled. She'd rather face deletion than endure further torture. We don't know if she found another sponsor or not. Nicole and I worry she might have been deleted.
Verena felt a surge of anger at how the afterlife had devolved. This was the realm she'd once believed would remain a peaceful respite for all. How naive we were.
What if we tried to reach Felicia's real-world family?
She asked suddenly.
If I could slip a message out to them, maybe they could pressure Eternity to track Felicia's account status, or even pay for her subscription, so she's not reliant on a sadistic sponsor.
Elsie blinked, a spark of hope lighting her features.
You do that?
Verena nodded.
I have limited ways to contact the outside world, but it's not impossible. I still have an old portal that lets me send messages to my niece. She's alive in the real world. She might be able to direct that info to Felicia's family.
Nicole's breath caught.
Even if it's a long shot, it's more than we have now.
Verena offered a small smile. Maybe Felicia's story doesn't have to end in silence. Later in the evening, Colin led Nicole and Elsie to a clearing at the orchard's edge, where a circle of ancient trees stood sentinel. Between two knotted trunks lay a battered wooden door. The moonlight shone on its chipped paint and rusted hinges.
What's that?
Nicole asked, brow furrowing.
We call it the exit door.
Colin answered quietly.
Some older residents discovered it years ago. It's not part of the new expansions. We think it was a leftover from an earlier version of this software. Step through, and you vanish from eternity. No fanfare, no record of non-payment or deletion. It's just gone.
Elsie's eyes widened.
So you could leave? Permanently?
Verena joined them, folding her arms.
Yes, none of us know if it leads to true oblivion or something else. We only know that once you pass through, you never come back. We haven't used it ourselves, but every time the corporate expansions get worse, I consider it.
Nicole stared at the door, heart pounding.
Why haven't you gone?
Verena exhaled.
Because this orchard is still my home, and if I left, who'd tell new arrivals about it, or about ways to fight back, or send messages to the real world?
She gestured toward the door's weathered frame.
We only show it to those who've lost all hope, so they know they still have a choice, beyond servitude or forced deletion.
Elsie laid a hand on the door's handle, cool to the touch. A shiver coursed through her. She glanced at Nicole.
It's frightening, but somehow comforting to know there's another way out.
By dawn's early light, Nicole and Elsie prepared to return to Bernadette's domain before they were missed. Verena handed Elsie a slip of parchment inscribed with Felicia's real name and a message for Felicia's family, an old-fashioned trick to ensure secrecy.
If you ever get a chance, slip this to someone in the real world. I'll try from my side too. Maybe we can at least let them know she's here.
Elsie clutched it to her chest.
Thank you
She said tearfully.
for everything.
Nicole looked over her shoulder at the orchard and the mysterious door beyond.
You've given us something we didn't have before, hope. Even if we never use that door, knowing it's there means Bernadette can't control us forever.
Verena offered a faint smile.
That's why we older residents stay, even after seeing how horrible it's become. We want to help. Don't give up.
The two women vanished into the misty distance, heading back to their grim reality under Bernadette's sponsorship. Verena watched them go with a heavy heart. Acceptance or escape, those are the only choices in this twisted paradise, she thought. She turned back toward the orchard, the gentle morning sun illuminating the battered door in a warm glow. Someday, if eternity's greed devoured even these quiet corners, Verena might finally walk through and seek whatever lay beyond. Until then, she would remain ready to guide any new arrivals who stumbled onto her path, offering them a glimpse of an exit and a glimmer of hope in an afterlife gone astray. If you'd like to see the final episode of The Afterlife Trap, or would like to support this channel, please don't forget to click the like button and subscribe to get updates as new videos become available. In our final episode, we'll explore what happens when a mother finds herself trapped between love and survival. As the cost of keeping her daughter in the digital afterlife rises, she faces an impossible choice, one that will test the limits of sacrifice and the true meaning of forever. This is the mother's choice. We hope to see you then.